To be honest, I'm more on peace and security than social protection, but in recent years, Vietnam Peace and Development Foundation is also focusing on social assistance to the vulnerable group. So today I would like to provide to you the perspective from Vietnam. Because I have experienced 2 periods of the country before 1990. You know that Vietnam really opened to the world in 1990. So I have experienced 2 periods of the country. The first one before 1990, when we were all very poor, but there were no rich people in Vietnam. All people are equally poor. Yes. And after 1990, when we opened to the world, and Vietnam is a socialist country, but also affected by globalization, by capitalism, yes, and industrialization. So to my understanding, I agree that we should work together again more and more to define social common. But to my understanding, social common is to ensure that all citizens have minimum income and have equal access to basic social services like education, healthcare, housing, clean water, and information. And I think that common plays a very important role, not only in the socio-economic development, but also in political stability of a country. This morning, I can see that some speaker mentioned the 3-way dialogue, but I myself think that social common, or maybe a good social security system, will strengthen the relation or harmonize the relation between all stakeholders in a country. Coming back to the period before 1990 in Vietnam, we were all poor and we were treated equally. The criminal rate in Vietnam was very low. We can say that maybe only 1 or 2% is very low. And the second thing is that people treated with each other in peaceful manner. But now we can see that things are becoming very different. So I would like to talk, I'd like to provide to you some achievement as well as a problem in Vietnam. Firstly, regarding the achievement in social security or social common in Vietnam, I think that when we're talking about social security in Vietnam, we have to take into account a very special factor. Vietnam is a country which underwent several wars and is constantly affected by natural disaster and climate change in the process of industrialization, globalization. With the impact of market economy, the number of people in need of social support is very high, accounting for over 20% of the population. The country now has more than 9 million old people, more than 7 million people with disability, 1.5 million disadvantaged children, nearly 5%, no, not nearly 5%, about 9%, nearly 9% poor family, 1.8 million family which need certain support due to natural disaster. More than 200,000 people living with HIV, more than 200,000 drug users, and 30,000 victims of domestic violence. It's not to mention many street women and children who are abused. But to be honest, the government, the Vietnamese government has paid attention to ensuring equal access to basic services like education, healthcare, housing, and clean water. Firstly, talking about education, I want to make clear that this morning, just set up Vietnam invest 4% of the budget to education, but I want to make clear that it's not 4% to education, 20% of the budget to education, but 16 of them goes to teacher. Salary, training, and things like that. 16% of the budget goes to teachers, only 4% goes to other things. Regarding electricity, Vietnam, the price of electricity is very low in Vietnam, only 8 cents for a kilowatt. And about 95% of the population have access to electricity. Regarding the poverty, in 1990, 58.1% of the total population live in poverty, and the number of and the figure is falling to 8.58% in 2017. The number of the rate of unemployment was also low, below 2%. Next, and regarding education. The literacy rate of people is now nearly 100%. Universal education coverage for primary school is 98%, and for secondary school is 92%. Healthcare insurance. 84.6% of people have access to healthcare and health insurance. But they are the figure, they are the achievement. But what are the problems? There are very big problems. The first one regarding education. 100% of people can read and write the literacy rate. It's nearly 100%. I guess that 99.8%. But the quality of higher education is very low. The quality of the human resources in Vietnam, was quite low. The second thing, regarding electricity, it is a very big difference. It's a very big problem. This morning, a speaker talked about social justice and environment sustainability. In Vietnam, the government is developing some more coal-fired power plants at the moment. And of course, a lot of CSO, a lot of NGO are protesting against the development of coal-fired power plant. But the thing is that why the government is trying to develop coal-fired power plant? Because they can produce cheap electricity. It keeps the price of electricity very cheap. Who wants to invest in renewable energy? The price of electricity in Vietnam is only 8 cents per kilowatt. While in the Philippines, I don't know, but about 26 cents per kilowatt. Yes, 3 times higher than Vietnam.
But how do you produce today your electricity?
Yes, write
it down.
And I think it's not just telling you that you're fake.
Yes, and in Vietnam there are many people there are a lot of people are asking for foreign investment in electricity, in clean water, because they are against state monopoly. But you can see the situation. The price is low. And foreign investors don't want to invest in electricity in Vietnam because if they sell electricity 8 cents per kilowatt, what kind of profit they make? That is a problem. Next. Regarding healthcare, yes, nearly 100% of people have health insurance, 84.6%, but the quality of health service is still very low. People have to share beds in hospital. In some hospital, 2 or even 3 people have to use only 1 bed. That is a big problem. The quality is still very low. One more thing, that is that Vietnam has gained great achievement, that is poverty reduction. To be honest, there is a big problem now in Vietnam that people do not want to escape from poverty. Why? Because every month they receive allowance from the state, only 15 or 20 US dollar. But they think it's okay. So if they escape from poverty, so no allowance for them. And NGO, CSO are doing very well in this field. They provide some kind of vocational training for poor people. I remember that Francine at a workshop in Vietnam 2 years ago, you say that empowerment is training. But what is the space for NGO, for CSO to work in Vietnam? There is a very big problem that there is no legal document regulating the involvement of NGO working in Vietnam. In recent years, Vietnamese NGO has very actively participated in both policy making and policy implementing process, but there is no legal document clearly regulating how Vietnamese NGO participate in the process. They have, of course, they have had influences in the policy making of Vietnam, and including policy related to social security, but such influences come from their own program, as well as their cooperation with related ministry and agency. Okay, I know. So that is a problem. And next, they don't have information about, they lack of information about state social security policy program and project. And there is not an official mechanism to encourage NGO and people's organization to take part in building and implementing social security policy. The limited fund for social security from the government is also a limitation. And there is another limitation regarding the resources. NGO can receive fund from INGO or from business sector. But the approval process for mobilizing other resources remains very complicated and takes time. Takes a lot of time. So sometimes we have to wait a lot for the approval process. One thing that is very important, that social assistance and in some cases social security is still seen as charity in Vietnam. Not right, but charity. Not only the government, but also NGO and people see it as charity. That's why a lot of people, a lot of disadvantaged people are waiting for support from the government and NGO. They don't want to do anything. They're waiting. So it's very important in my perspective, it's very important to change the approach. We should not see social assistance or social support or social security as charity. We should see it as right. We should raise people's awareness about social common or social security. Thank you very much.